I never thought I would see the day when my own sister sold our mother's precious jewelry behind my back, every necklace and ring that carried our family's memories gone in an instant. I stood there staring at the empty box, my hands shaking, my heart breaking, feeling betrayed by the person I once trusted most. I tracked down the stranger who bought back every single piece with my own savings, only to face my sister's fury and my brother-in-law's lies and threats. The anger, the fear, the grief, I felt it all, but I couldn't let them destroy what our parents left behind. This is a story about greed, betrayal, and the fight to protect family, about watching karma catch up to those who thought they could get away with destroying love and trust. I will show you how I fought for justice, how I stood up against lies and threats, and how, in the end, the truth and respect for our family finally won. I still remember the moment I opened my mother's jewelry box and found it completely empty. My hands froze on the lid, my stomach dropped, and for a few seconds I couldn't breathe. Every necklace, every ring, even the little pearl earrings she promised to pass down one day, gone. It felt like someone had ripped out a piece of our family history. My first thought was denial. No, she wouldn't dare. But then the truth sank in. My sister had sold them. Let me tell you, my mother wasn't a rich woman. She never wore anything flashy or expensive. But her jewelry collection was priceless in its own way. Every piece had a story. There was the silver necklace Dad gave her on their 25th anniversary. The gold wedding band she never took off, not even when she was in the hospital. The brooch she wore to church every Sunday. For us, those things weren't about money. They were about love, family, memory. When Mom passed away, we were shattered. We all gathered in her house, trying to sort through her things. I told my sister, Margaret, I don't care about the furniture or the china. Just promise me Mom's jewelry stays in the family. She looked me in the eyes and said, Of course, Tommy. Don't worry. At the time, I believed her. A week later, I went back to the house to check on things. When I saw the empty jewelry box, my heart sank. I called her right away. Where's Mom's jewelry? I demanded. Her answer was so casual, it made my blood boil. Oh, I sold it. You what? I shouted, nearly dropping the phone. Relax, she said. It wasn't doing anyone any good just sitting there. I needed the money. Besides, Mom would have wanted us to use it for something practical. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. That was Mom's. She wanted it passed down, not pawned off. She sighed like I was being dramatic. You're so sentimental. Jewelry is just stuff, Tommy. Bills are real. I hung up, shaking with anger. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept picturing strangers wearing Mom's ring, her necklace, her earrings, pieces of her, gone forever. The thought made me sick. The next morning, I made up my mind. If Margaret wasn't going to protect Mom's memory, I would. I started calling pawn shops, jewelry stores, even small antique dealers. Most of them said no. They hadn't seen anything like that. Days passed with no luck. Then finally, one shop owner said, Actually, a woman came in last week with a small collection. Sold it fast. But funny thing, I know the buyer. He collects vintage jewelry. Want his number. My heart nearly stopped. I called immediately. The man's name was Edward. I explained everything. Sir, those pieces you bought, they belonged to my late mother. My sister sold them without my knowledge. Please, can we meet? There was silence. Then he said softly, When I bought them, I had a feeling they weren't just ordinary pieces. Come tomorrow. The next day, I drove 2 hours to his house. When Edward opened the door, he welcomed me in, and there on the table was the jewelry. My mother's necklace, her earrings, the brooch. All of it. That's them. I whispered, tears stinging my eyes. Edward nodded. I'll be honest, I paid good money. But after hearing your story, I think they belong with you. Name your price, I said without hesitation. I'll pay whatever it takes. He smiled gently. I don't want to profit from grief. Just cover what I spent and promise me you'll keep them safe. I emptied my savings account right there. When I left his house, holding Mom's jewelry box against my chest, I felt like I had brought her memory back home. Of course, when Margaret found out, she exploded. You went behind my back? You spent your money on that junk? It's not junk, I told her. It's Mom, and she deserves better than being pawned off for your bills. The fight was brutal. She called me selfish, controlling, accused me of trying to steal the inheritance. But the truth is, there was never a price tag on Mom's jewelry. The only value it had was love, something Margaret never seemed to understand. In the end, she cut me off, stopped talking to me completely. And honestly, I'm okay with that. Because now every time I open that jewelry box, I see more than just necklaces and rings. I see my parents' love, my mother's smile, and the life they built together. I know I did the right thing. Family isn't about money. It's about respect, love, and protecting the things that truly matter. Margaret chose greed. I chose memory. And deep down, I know Mom will be proud of me. After I brought my mother's jewelry back home, I thought the storm was finally over. I placed the little wooden box on my shelf, right where Mom used to keep it, and for a moment I felt at peace. But the calm didn't last long. Margaret wasn't the kind of person to just let things go. She went quiet for a couple of weeks, which at first felt like a relief. But deep down, I knew silence from her was never a good sign. One evening the phone rang. It was her. I hesitated, staring at the screen, but eventually I picked up. Her voice was sharp, colder than I'd ever heard it. "Tommy, you had no right," she said. I took a deep breath. No right to what? To keep Mom's memory alive? To make sure her jewelry stayed in the family? "No right to make me look like a fool," she snapped. "Do you have any idea how hard things are for me? I needed that money." I clenched my jaw. "Then you should have come to me, Margaret. We could have figured it out. But selling Mom's jewelry behind my back? That was betrayal." There was silence on the line, and then she said something that froze me. "You don't understand, it wasn't just about bills." Her voice cracked slightly, and then she hung up. No explanation, no goodbye, just the click of the line going dead. I couldn't sleep that night. Her words kept echoing in my head. It wasn't just about bills. What did that mean? What was she hiding from me? A week later, I accidentally got my answer. I was at the grocery store when I ran into her neighbor, an older lady who always loved to chat. She leaned in close, lowering her voice as if she were telling me a state secret. "Poor Margaret," she whispered. "She's really going through it with all that trouble." I frowned. "What trouble?" The woman looked surprised. "Oh, you don't know? Her husband lost his job months ago. And well, people say there are gambling debts. Serious ones." I stood there, frozen, the shopping cart handle tight in my grip. Gambling debts. Suddenly everything made sense. Margaret hadn't sold Mom's jewelry for practical expenses. She was covering for her husband's mess. That night, I called her. At first, she wouldn't pick up, but finally she answered on the fifth try. "Margaret," I said, my voice calm but firm. "I know about the gambling. I know why you sold Mom's things." There was a long silence. Then she whispered, almost broken, "You don't get it, Tommy. They were threatening us. We were drowning. I had no choice." I felt anger bubbling, but also something else, pity. Still, I couldn't excuse what she had done. "You always have a choice," I said quietly. "But you chose wrong. You sold our mother's memory to pay off a gambler." She started crying. "I didn't want you to know. I didn't want anyone to know. But he promised he'd change. He promised it was the last time." I closed my eyes. How many times had I heard that same excuse from people in town? "Margaret, I bought Mom's jewelry back. It's safe now. But listen to me carefully. You will never touch again. Not for him. Not for anyone." Her tone changed instantly, sharp like a knife. "So you're the hero now? You think you're better than me because you spent your savings?" "This isn't about being a hero," I said. "It's about respect. Respect for the woman who raised us. Respect for our father's love. If you can't see that, then maybe you don't deserve to call yourself her daughter." She cursed at me and hung up. I sat there in the dark, the phone heavy in my hand, feeling both furious and heartbroken. The days that followed were tense. Word spread in our small town, as it always does. People began whispering. Some sided with me, saying I had done the right thing. Others pitted Margaret, painting her as a desperate wife trying to save her marriage. Then something unexpected happened. A letter arrived in my mailbox. No return address, just my name written in shaky handwriting. Inside was a short note. "You don't know the full story. Ask her husband." I stared at it, confused, my hands trembling slightly. Someone wanted me to dig deeper. Someone wanted me to uncover more than Margaret had admitted. That night, I decided I couldn't ignore it. If there was more to the story, I needed to know. Not for gossip, not for pride, but because Mom's memory deserved the truth. And so I made up my mind. The next morning, I would go to Margaret's house. I would look her husband in the eye and get the answers she was too afraid to give me. What I didn't know was that the confrontation waiting for me would make everything that had happened so far look like child's play. The letter I found in my mailbox haunted me for days. Just one line, written in shaky handwriting. You don't know the full story. Ask her husband. I kept reading it over and over again. At first, I thought maybe it was some kind of sick joke. Who would send me something like that? But the more I thought about it, the more it made sense. Margaret's strange words on the phone, the gambling debts I had heard about from her neighbor, everything pointed toward her husband, Daniel. He was the missing piece. I hadn't been close to him. He married my sister 20 years ago, but he'd always struck me as slippery, always smiling just a little too wide, talking just a little too smooth. My father never trusted him, and my mother, though polite, used to whisper to me, "That man's got hungry eyes, Tommy. He'll always be chasing something." Now it seemed her instincts were right. So one Saturday morning, I drove to Margaret's house. The place looked worn down, the paint peeling, the lawn uncut. I knocked on the door, my heart pounding. Margaret opened it, looking tired, her eyes red like she hadn't slept. "What do you want?" she muttered. "I need to talk to Daniel," I said firmly. She stiffened. "About what?" "You know what," I replied. "Step aside." She tried to block me, but just then Daniel's voice floated from the living room. "It's fine, Maggie. Let him in." He appeared in the doorway, wearing a wrinkled shirt, holding a half-empty glass of something stronger than water. He grinned, but there was no warmth in it. So, the hero brother finally comes to lecture me. I walked in, ignoring his sarcasm. "I want the truth, Daniel. About the debts. About why my sister had to sell Mom's jewelry." He chuckled darkly and sat down. "Truth? You really want it? Fine. Yes, I gambled. I made mistakes. But do you know why? Because life gave me nothing. No inheritance, no fancy education, no handouts. Just bills and pressure. So when I saw a chance to win big, I took it." "And you lost," I said coldly. He shrugged. "That's how the game goes." I clenched my fists. "Your game cost my mother's legacy. You dragged Margaret into your mess and made her betray her own family. Do you even care what you've done?" For the first time, his grin faded. He looked away, his jaw tight. "You think I wanted this? You think I'm proud?" Those men I owed money to, they weren't patient. They came to the house. They threatened her. They threatened my kids. Margaret, standing by the wall, started to cry quietly. My anger faltered. I hadn't known about threats. I turned back to him. "And instead of telling me, instead of asking for help, you let her pawn off Mom's memory like it was pocket change." He slammed his glass down, his voice rising. "What was I supposed to do, Tommy? Beg you? Crawl on my knees? You always thought you were better than me." I stepped closer, my voice low and trembling. "This isn't about pride. This is about family, about respect. You had a chance to do the right thing, and you chose selfishness. Just like Margaret." Margaret broke then, sobbing, covering her face with her hands. "Stop it, both of you," she cried. "You don't understand. I did it because I thought I had to, because I was scared, because I didn't want to lose everything." I looked at her, really looked at her. She seemed so small, so defeated. And for the first time, I saw not just the greedy sister who sold my mother's jewelry, but a woman cornered, carrying her husband's sins like a weight she could never put down. I softened my tone. "Maggie, you should have trusted me. We could have faced this together. Instead, you sold the one thing Mom asked us to keep safe." She shook her head, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I didn't think you'd understand. You were always Mom's favorite, Dad's pride. I was the weak one, the one who needed help. I didn't want you to see me like this." Her words cut deep. Maybe she was right. Maybe I'd judged her too harshly, expected too much. But nothing excused what she did. Daniel leaned back, staring at me. "So what now? You've got the jewelry back. Congratulations. Are you here to rub it in our faces?" "No," I said. "I'm here to make sure it never happens again. Listen carefully, both of you. Mom's jewelry stays with me from now on. Locked, safe, untouchable. You won't get another chance to pawn it off. Not for debts, not for bills, not for anything. Margaret cried harder, but Daniel just smirked again, that same crooked grin. You think you're the guardian of the family now? Fine. Keep your little trinkets. They won't fix what's broken here. I stared at him, feeling a cold certainty settle over me. You're right. They won't fix it. But at least I won't let you destroy what's left. I turned and walked out, the door slamming behind me. Driving home, I felt a storm inside me. Anger at Daniel, pity for Margaret, grief for the family we used to be. And under it all, a burning question. Who had sent that letter? Someone wanted me to dig deeper. Someone wanted me to know the truth. And as much as I wanted to close the chapter, I knew I couldn't. Because the story wasn't over yet. Not by a long shot. For days after my confrontation with Margaret and Daniel, I couldn't get that letter out of my mind. You don't know the full story. Ask her husband. I had already asked him, and I had gotten some answers. But something told me I hadn't gotten the whole truth. His words had been slippery, rehearsed, like he was leaving something out. One evening, as I sat at my kitchen table staring at the jewelry box, I felt the weight of everything pressing down on me. The silver necklace glimmered faintly in the dim light, my mother's wedding ring resting beside it. I touched the ring gently and whispered, "What else are they hiding from me, Mom?" The next day I got my answer, though not in the way I expected. A knock sounded on my door. When I opened it, I found a man I didn't recognize. He was tall, middle-aged, dressed in a worn leather jacket. His eyes were sharp, but there was a strange kindness in them. He introduced himself simply. "My name's Richard. I think we need to talk about your sister's husband." Immediately, my guard went up. "And who are you to him?" I asked. Richard sighed. "Let's just say, I used to be in the same circles. Gambling, debts, chasing money that never lasts. I got out years ago. But your brother-in-law? He owes the wrong people. Dangerous people. And if you don't step in, it won't just be jewelry he loses." I felt my chest tighten. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I knew your father," Richard said softly. "A good man. He helped me once, when I was at my lowest. I figure I owe his family the truth." I invited him inside, and over black coffee he told me everything. Daniel hadn't just lost money at a poker table. He was tied up in illegal games, borrowing from men who didn't forgive easily. The threats Margaret mentioned weren't idle. If Daniel didn't pay up soon, things would get violent. "Your sister's scared," Richard said. "She's desperate. That's why she sold the jewelry. But it won't be enough. It'll never be enough." My hands trembled on the coffee cup. "So what happens now?" Richard leaned forward, his voice low. "You have a choice. You can walk away and let them drown. Or you can expose him, shine a light on his mess so he can't drag her down any further." That night, I barely slept. My mind raced with images of Margaret crying, Daniel sneering, my mother's gentle smile. I thought of how hard my parents had worked, how much they sacrificed, and how this man had poisoned our family. I couldn't let him destroy my sister completely, no matter how angry I was at her. So the next morning, I drove back to their house. Margaret opened the door, her face pale. "What are you doing here?" she asked nervously. "I need to talk to Daniel," I said firmly. She shook her head. "He's not here. He left early." But before she could say more, Daniel's voice called out from inside, mocking. "Let him in, Maggie. Let the preacher give his sermon." When I walked into the living room, Daniel was sitting at the table, cards scattered in front of him like a cruel joke. He smirked. "Back again? Didn't you get your closure last time?" I didn't sit. I stood tall and said, "I know everything now. The debts, the threats, the lies." Richard told me. His grin faltered for a split second, then returned. "Richard talks too much." Margaret gasped. You knew Richard?" Daniel rolled his eyes. "We go way back. He's a rat who thinks he's better than the rest of us." I slammed my hand on the table. "Enough. You're dragging Margaret down with you. You're tearing this family apart. You've already taken Mom's jewelry once. You're not getting another chance." His eyes narrowed, cold and dangerous. "You think you can stop me? You think you're some kind of hero, Tommy? Let me tell you something. Your sister knew exactly what she was doing. She chose me. She chose this life. Don't blame me for her choices." Margaret's face crumpled. "Daniel, stop," she whispered. But he didn't. He leaned closer, his voice venomous. "And you, little brother, always playing the saint. Do you know what your mother said about you before she died? That you were too soft, that you'd never survive without her. His words hit like a punch to the gut. I felt my blood boil, but I forced myself not to react. Instead, I looked straight at Margaret. You hear that? This is the man you're protecting. The man you sacrificed Mom's memory for. She shook her head, tears streaming down her face. I thought he would change. I reached into my bag and pulled out the jewelry box. I opened it carefully, showing her the pieces. This is what change looks like. Keeping what matters safe. Respecting where we came from. Daniel doesn't understand that, and he never will. For the first time, Margaret seemed to see him clearly. She stepped back from him, trembling. I can't do this anymore, Daniel, she whispered. I can't live like this. His eyes darkened, rage flashing across his face. Don't you dare, he growled. Don't you dare walk away. I stepped between them, my voice steady. If you touch her, if you hurt her, I'll make sure everyone in this town knows the truth about you. The debts, the gambling, the threats. You'll have nowhere left to hide. For a long moment, the room was silent except for Margaret's quiet sobs. Finally, Daniel laughed bitterly and threw the card aside. Fine, play the savior. But this isn't over, Tommy. Not by a long shot. I walked out with Margaret by my side, the jewelry box clutched tightly in my hands. As we stood outside in the fading light, she whispered, "Thank you." I looked at her, my anger softening into something gentler. I'm not doing this for thanks. I'm doing it for Mom, for Dad, for the family we're supposed to be. But deep down, I knew Daniel was right about one thing. It wasn't over. Not yet. And the storm that was coming would test us all more than ever. The night after I pulled Margaret out of that house, I barely slept. I kept hearing Daniel's words echoing in my head. This isn't over. And I knew he meant it. Men like him never let go. They dig deeper, lie harder, and pull everyone else into their darkness. But something felt different this time. Margaret wasn't just broken anymore. She was angry. For the first time, I saw fire in her eyes. The next morning, she came to my house, her face pale but determined. I can't keep living like this, she said, clutching a cup of coffee between trembling hands. I've been lying for him for years, covering for him, making excuses. Mom always told me love was supposed to build you up, not destroy you. And now, I feel like I'm standing in ashes. I reached across the table, touching her hand gently. Then it's time to walk away, Maggie. It's time to choose yourself and a family that still loves you. She nodded slowly, but I could see the fear in her. He won't let me go easily. I didn't tell her how right she was. That evening, as if summoned by our conversation, Daniel showed up at my door. His face was red, his breath reeking of liquor, his fists clenched at his sides. Where's she? He barked. I stepped outside, shutting the door behind me. She's safe. That's all you need to know. He sneered. You think you can steal my wife? My life? You're nothing, Tommy. You always were. I felt a calm wash over me, stronger than my fear. No, Daniel. I'm not stealing anything. I'm giving her back her freedom. Something you never let her have. His jaw tightened. You don't get it. Those debts don't disappear because she runs to you. They'll come knocking. And when they do, you'll wish you never crossed me. I leaned closer, my voice low and steady. Let them come. I'll face them head on. But you'll face the law. Because tomorrow morning, Margaret and I are going to the police. The threats, the gambling, the money. You're not hiding anymore. For a moment, his bravado cracked. His eyes darted back and forth like a man cornered. Then he spat on the ground and stormed off into the night. The next day was one of the hardest days of my life. Margaret and I walked into the police station together. She was shaking, clutching her purse like it was a lifeline, but she kept moving. We sat down with an officer, and Margaret told everything. The debts, the men who came to the house, the jewelry, the years of fear. When she finished, she was sobbing in her hands. But the officer leaned forward, his voice gentle. Ma'am, you did the right thing. We'll take it from here. For the first time in years, I saw her shoulders relax just a little. The days that followed were a blur. Daniel was picked up for questioning, and soon after, charged with fraud and illegal gambling. The men he owed money to disappeared into the shadows, once the police started digging around. And Margaret, she finally came to stay with me for a while. She was fragile, like a bird with broken wings, but every day she grew a little stronger. One evening, as we sat in my living room, she asked if she could see the jewelry again. I brought out the box and placed it gently in her lap. She opened it slowly, her tears falling as she touched each piece. "This is all we have left of her," she whispered, "and I almost lost it forever." I put my arm around her. "But you didn't. It's here, and so are you. That's what matters." She nodded, closing the box. "I'm going to make things right, Tommy. I don't know how yet, but I will." Weeks later, Daniel tried calling her from jail. She didn't answer. She never looked back. And as for me, I still keep the jewelry box on the shelf in my living room. Sometimes, when the house is quiet, I'll open it and hold the ring or the necklace in my hands. I don't just see metal or stones. I see my father's steady love, my mother's unwavering strength, and now, finally, my sister's courage to break free. Justice came, not in the way I expected, but in the way it was needed. Daniel paid the price for his greed. Margaret found her strength. And I learned that protecting family isn't just about holding on to objects. It's about holding on to the truth, no matter how painful it is. In the end, Mom's jewelry stayed where it belonged. And so did her legacy. Because family isn't measured in money or debts or betrayals. Family is measured in love, respect, and the courage to do what's right. And this time, finally, right one.